Jackie, thank you for agreeing to speak with your very busy week here.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jackie Spurlock, and I served in Iran from 1974 to 1976, and I live in Portland, Oregon, and I'm the president of Peace Corps Iran Association, which is a brand new organization, just really formed in the last year, although we have a history of being somewhat organized in the past, and I want to share just a little bit of the background of how we led up to our reunion in Portland 2 years ago in the summer of 2011. And I think this is characterized on the program as talking about best practices. And I want to say that we made this up as we went along. So we're not experts on best practices, but we were really thrilled at how our reunion in Portland turned out, and we're really excited about how this event is shaping up for our group today too. So I'll just share some of that with you. So Peace Corps served in Iran from 1962 to 1974, and during that time, or 76, 62 to 76, and during that time there were 1,748 volunteers. And so for my husband and I, our service ended in 1976 when Peace Corps left Iran. And it wasn't because of the political situation at the time. The Shah was still going strong, but we were told that Peace Corps wasn't needed in Iran anymore. I don't know the exact politics of it, but for whatever reason, Peace Corps left. But my husband and I stayed till 1978. We had jobs in the private sector there, and then we went home to Portland and with our son, who was born there in 77. And so then, as we were leaving, the events of the revolution were starting. And the Shah was overthrown in 1979. The hostage crisis happened in 79 and 80 and 81. And then the war with Iraq began all through the 80s. Iran was suffering with that terrible war. And we, my husband and I, really completely lost touch with our experience in Iran. It really felt like it wasn't a country that we could really relate to anymore, that we didn't understand what was happening. And so, meanwhile, the Iran Peace Corps volunteers did organize briefly in the 1980s. There was a group of them, and Jerry Gilio at this table was a member of that group, and is still a dedicated Iran Peace Corps volunteer. But there wasn't anything active from the mid-80s until a couple of years ago, when Peace Corps was when Peace Corps was celebrating its 50th anniversary. And I live in Portland, where the Iranian American community has a really vibrant Iranian festival every summer, the first weekend of August. And it just occurred to me, why don't we get some Iran Peace Corps volunteers together, and we'll all go to the Iranian festival, and maybe we can have dinner together later. Maybe we'll have 50 people, or it would be great if we could get 50 of us together. And so I contacted the name site of NPCA, where there were a few people actively communicating on there, and one of those people, Doug Shermer, said, "Great, I'll help you out." So, okay, we had a team of 2. And this was in late 2010. And as you know, 11 was the anniversary, and the first weekend of August was the date for this event. So Doug and I started going forth, and we, at that point, had really no contact. So I knew 3 or 4 other Iran volunteers in Portland, and 3 or 4 others around the country that we served with, and the same for Doug. And then there were, a handful on the name site. And so we just put it out to everyone we knew. And NPCA shared a list of, and it was an old list because there were nobody coming actively back from Peace Corps. And so we sent a mailing to those people also, and basically said we'd like to have a reunion in Portland next August. And 30 people responded in the first month and said, I'm coming. And this was like in the fall of 2010, 10 months out. So that seemed like there was some energy there. The other problem was we had no money. No money. And so we asked for donations as people, and it was already spreading word of mouth already. And as everyone pretty much that emailed and said, oh, I'd like to come, tell me about it, we asked for money. And actually in the first few months, we got over $1,000 worth of donations that way. And in about February, I applied for a grant from the Columbia River Peace Corps Association, which is our local group in Portland, and they gave us $600. So we used that money, the early money, for printing and postage for a postcard. And this is the postcard, and I have, I put several things from that reunion on the back there. These were leftover, and so if you're planning a reunion, these are just so that you can see what we did. We're trying to get rid of them. They're in my basement right now. So help yourself to those. We sent the postcard out. More and more people responded. By mid-January, we had 65 people coming, and we decided to project 100 at that point. And then another important piece of it is this organization in Portland. It's called the American-Iranian Friendship Council, and that's a group of Americans and Iranians both who are working to educate people about Iran. Americans, and so they do lots of cultural things, everything from concerts and picnics and poetry readings and marching and anti-war marches. And so I'm a member of that organization, so I started working with them. They were thrilled with the whole idea. And for example, one of their members knows personally Ambassador John Limbert, who it turns out many of our members also know, but none of us in the early days know him personally. He was one of the Iran hostages, and he had served in the Peace Corps in the 60s, and by the late 70s he was working in the embassy there and was a hostage. And now he has gone on to be an ambassador in Mauritania, and he's retired from the State Department, but he's had an illustrious career and is revered by Iran Peace Corps volunteers. Through the contact from AIFC, he agreed to be the keynote speaker. So that became a huge draw, and we kept working on it. The Save the Date postcard went out, and at some point we realized we don't have a 501c3. We have no organization really, and this is turning into a bigger event than we thought. We probably can't do this without this legal underpinning. So AIFC agreed to sponsor the event for us, and we used their 501c3. And but we were by that time actively looking for venues, and it turns out that it's very expensive to rent conference space. So we were able to bring on board the Portland State University International Studies Department. They were also really excited about this because they wanted their students to come to the event. We said, they are more than welcome if you will sponsor this. So they agreed. So through Portland State, we were able to get really low-cost conference spaces. Lots and lots of spaces because this kept growing quickly. And the number of people that said they were coming past 100 in about March or so. And so meanwhile, everyone many people that responded said, what can I do to help? And so by this time we had a 3-day event because we had the Iranian festival on Saturday. Well, when were we going to have meetings and conferences and programs? So we decided to do that on Friday, and then we decided to have a business meeting on Sunday and actually get a group going, which is the group that became Peace Corps Iran Association. So 3 days. So in that spring, we lined up a person to coordinate homestays, which was my sister who lives in Arizona. She coordinated it from down there and found homes in the Iranian American community and also in the Columbia River Peace Corps Association members who were going on a camp out that weekend, but they said, oh sure, we have people where they can stay. So many people stayed in homes. We had my son's girlfriend coordinated a silent auction, which in the end raised $2,300. People just sending in memorabilia they had from Iran, and it was auctioned and raised money. We had tote bags. One of our members said, oh, I always order tote bags for my daughter's soccer team, so we sold these tote bags for $10 each, and Jerry has the black version. We had someone collecting oral histories, someone coordinating author readings. Another person was really interested in finding our members who have died, so she created a beautiful memorial book. We had film showings. We had a slideshow organized by somebody who collected photos from as many of us as he could, and that was showing in the lobby as people entered, and also over John Limbert's head as he was speaking Saturday night. Someone else put together a photo board, a restaurant list, signage. So everyone that came on board, we said, what can you do? What are you good at? What would you like to do? And they stepped up. So along about in June, we got this brochure organized. We printed this and mailed it. And this is where we started the official registration. We decided by that time we would charge $125 for the entire 3-day weekend. And the form is in here, and we also took payment on PayPal. And and the mayor of Stockton, California is one of our members, served in Iran. Her name was Ann Johnston. So she agreed to moderate 3 panels on Friday. We had one on traveling to Iran, one on environmental issues in Iran, and one called Current Situation, Iran, Current Situation and Future Outlook. And then Ann Johnson also agreed to be a host at the banquet on Saturday night, and with the president of AIFC, they did that together. By that time we were working with the audiovisual department at Portland State, again a huge money saver. That would have been very expensive. We had a volunteer coordinator on board. One of our members just put out a call and said, can you be a greeter? Can you help in any way? People stepped up, so many that we needed one person just to coordinate them. So by July 13th, we're less than a month out, the registration was over 200. That was the people who had paid their $125, over 200 people that we, most of them we'd never even heard of. And we had to move to a 3rd location for the banquet as it kept growing. So that 3rd location was the one where we stayed. By July 22nd, we had over 250 signed up, registered. And then by July 28th, the last week, we had 300 registered for this event, and we couldn't fit another person in the banquet hall, so we pretty much cut it off there. And so, let's see, then, okay, so the event took place the first weekend of August 2011. It was the 50th anniversary event. The final attendance was 225 on Friday. And then on Saturday, people brought their spouses. There were lots of Iranian Americans from Portland, and so the total attendance on Saturday was about 300. And for the program on that Saturday, we had not only Ambassador John Limbert speaking just in the most moving and humorous and loving way about Iran, and clearly he's forgiven whatever it was that happened during the hostage crisis, and he still is very connected to Iran and his Peace Corps experience. But we also had a memorial to where we highlighted some of the most beloved Iran Peace Corps volunteers who have passed on. And we also had a musical performance, traditional Persian music, by a Persian musical group there in Portland. Wonderful music, and people were just really moved to tears. They didn't want to leave. The response to this event was just overwhelming, and mostly positive. I say mostly because in, I guess, a traditional Peace Corps way, when we put out an evaluation afterwards, they told us what they didn't like too. And, you know, things are just not ever going to go perfectly smoothly, especially when this came together so fast and was so much bigger than we had anticipated. But overwhelmingly, the response was positive. And so, and I just also want to give a shout out to the Friends of Liberia. Their president lives in Portland, or did at the time. I think that she's still a president. Anyway, I knew them through the Columbia Peace Corps Association and asked them to come and speak to us on Sunday morning about how to start a country of service group, and which they did, and it was very helpful. I don't know if any of that group is here today, but they also had experience with a country where Peace Corps was interrupted for a while. And so that was very helpful. And so within a few months, we had started forming Peace Corps Iran Association. And we started out with 7 board members. We created bylaws, a mission statement. We sent in our 501c3 application a couple of months ago. And that leads me to the board planning session yesterday. So our thought has been that was such a huge event that maybe we could have a smaller event here in conjunction with this conference, which is what we're doing, and we have about 45 people here. And we have a complete program. Maybe some of you saw the panel this morning with the Iranian graduate students and talking about life in Iran today. And it continues right now as we speak. They're meeting in what we're calling the Persian room, and continuing the conversation about how can our group connect with Iran when we don't even have an embassy and we're on the brink of we have been on the brink of a war for years, and it's just getting worse, not better. So our focus is on that, and as a new board, we've spent the last year getting to know each other and figuring out our priorities for our organization. And so we worked with one of our board members who used to work for the Environmental Protection Agency, and she worked with them to get a facilitator for us. So the board yesterday had a 3-hour strategic planning session facilitated by this EPA facilitator, and we agreed that we're on the right track as far as our goals are to preserve and collect and disseminate the history and the legacy of Peace Corps in Iran, and to explore how we can be a positive voice in changing the narrative around Iran, which, as you know, we rarely hear anything positive about Iran in our media. We have a message, and we'd like to get that out, and that's the other prong of our group's mission. So that's us in a nutshell. So the question was, how much did we end up spending and charging? So we charged $125 for the 3-day event. Some people only wanted to come to the banquet on Saturday night. That was $60. And we agonized over whether that was too much, but with hindsight, it was really very reasonable. And so we ended up with a nice amount of money that was left over that we've been able to use to start our new organization, to apply for the 501c3 and so on.
How far do people travel?
Oh, that's interesting. One man came from Australia, and another one came from Tanzania. They came from all over the U.S. It was unbelievable. And the man from Australia sent a movie that he'd made in Iran in 1974. All these different memorabilia just poured out of, the energy was just really incredible. And Jerry came from New Jersey. A lot of people came from the East Coast. Any other questions?
Amazing what you can do when you find a little spark to get your group moving. That's a little bit about what I'm going to speak about today. It's just capturing that spark and using some of the free tools out there on the internet to keep it moving, to spread it out, and keep people engaged. I'm going to talk about 4 particular online tools. First of all, my name is Chris Robinson. I am with RPCV. I served in Jamaica from 2007 to 2009. And RPCV, we were started in 1979. We were incorporated in 1971 as a 501c3. Have about 1,000 members, about 2,500 people in our complete database. And really what we do, what I wanted to talk about a little bit about today, are 4 basic online tools that I think are essential to managing an RPCV group. And before I begin, I want to apologize for speaking quickly. I want to get through this stuff. And I absolutely guarantee that each and every one of you are more than welcome to contact me at the end of this or afterwards. I'm going to give you my contact information. And it's an open invitation. I will go through every step of the way. We can have a philosophical discussion if you'd like. And I just want to make myself available, make myself a resource. Get all this information out and share it with the community. And why do I do that? I mean, if I were a marketer, I would say I have very strong brand loyalty to Peace Corps. If I were a politician, I would say that I believe in these issues. Some people would call it a spirited core, but we call it the third goal. And it really is what binds us all together. It really is what holds us all together. And all this stuff that I'm going to talk about is just stuff. It's all based on that underlying principle that we have this shared identity, that we have this thing in common, and that makes us a little bit more open to collaborate, a little bit more open to be part of the group, a little bit more open to share, a little bit more open to trust. So let's start. I mean, ever since the creation of the Gutenberg printing press, the newsletter has been your chief binding agent of an organization. A steady bulletin that goes out periodically that people can rely on, that's filled with all sorts of good stuff, updates, facts, and figures. It really is the binding glue and the second best thing you can do next to organizing physical events. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about social media. What does that mean? What is it? It's really what I like to call a dinner party in the sky. It's kind of having an ongoing discussion that is always active and can transcend geographical boundaries. It's very helpful, and I'm going to show you it in action. I'm also going to discuss some of the online tools out there, particularly forms that we use for surveys, ballots, and just generally collecting information in spreadsheet form that we can then share with other officers of the group and save, archive, and utilize data across the years. And finally, we're going to go under the hood to actually see how all this connects. We're going to talk a little bit about analytics, which is basically what's going on behind the scenes and how people are utilizing these tools and the little patterns that pop up from that and what that can tell you about managing your group and allocating your resources. So let's start with the newsletter. Like I said, periodically, this really is the heartbeat of your organization. We send out one every week at 10 a.m. It pops up. And what we do is, it's not really a creative venture. It used to be. People used to write stories for it. It used to be a journalistic pursuit. Our newsletter is focused primarily on events that are going on in DC, ones that we are hosting, and then ones that are going on with local groups that we're affiliated with, Rotary clubs, nonprofits, groups that need volunteers to come out on a weekend, and that's what we offer. We are kind of the volunteer hotline for Washington, D.C. And by doing that, we are able to spread our circles far, far wider than RPCVs. And we're able to really tap into networks that are frankly beyond us, but share our vision. As I said, the newsletter can welcome new members, we advertise events, share interests. We offer space to local groups with similar missions. They provide content, they provide opportunities to us. It's a great way to be diverse, to have new things popping up all the time. It's really quite amazing because then they share it and you become part of their networks. And we encourage our members to offer content. When our members are sharing stuff, that really is going beyond. I mean, we can broadcast facts and information and top down, but when people are coming to us, hey, I am fundraising for a project in Sierra Leone, we're going to be meeting at this establishment on Friday night. Could you put it in the newsletter? Yes, you're a member, we'll do it. That is part of our return on investment. And I use a free service, it's called MailChimp.com. It is an online product that is free up to, I think, 2,500 contacts, which is more than enough for most groups. And using this service, you can publish newsletters, set up a list, and I'm going to show you that in a few minutes, show you how ours is set up. Moving on, social media. I recommend at least having one social media outlet for your group. Definitely want to talk to, I take all this for granted. I mean, I grew up with this, and it is a bit of a learning curve. My mom started using Facebook when I went into Peace Corps, and it really has allowed us both to just connect, and we stay incredibly connected at this point. And it all kind of starts with exploration. You want to get out there, explore, experiment, see what works for you, talk to your members, issue surveys. There really isn't any substitute for just sitting down and exploring the different options that are out there. There are some certain strengths and weaknesses. Our primary mode of communication is our Facebook group, which has about 1,300 members. People use it for all sorts of things, to advertise housing requests, to post jobs, to sell their cars, to advertise their events, to introduce themselves. It is an informal forum for the group that is always going and pops up in people's news feeds and is a direct line to Facebook, which pretty much accounts for about a quarter of the world's population at this point. It's a great place to store your photos, which is one of its chief uses. We have photos on Facebook that go back to 2008. They can all be downloaded and saved and shared with members. It's a great way when you have a bunch of pictures that you want to put in a secure place. And as I said, it's a forum, and it also has very powerful event planning tools which notify the people in your group and can be very helpful for keeping people knowing what events are going to be happening on what day. LinkedIn is a little bit more of a professional version of Facebook. It's mostly used for showing off your resume and networking with people who share your interests, who are engaged in sectors that you find engaging, and for setting up the informational interview, which is kind of a staple of most people who are coming home and looking for jobs and trying to figure out what they want to do. A LinkedIn group offers a forum. It has job posting opportunities, private messaging. It's very secure. We utilize one. Ours has about 400 members. Twitter, this is a little bit more esoteric. It's a little bit more creative. It's a little bit more flexible. It's nice to have somebody who has their own Twitter account to be your group tweeter. Yes, I'm not making up these words. They're actually in Webster's. It's flexible. You can schedule a series of tweets for the month, which is what I do. Every month I sit down for a couple hours and I think about what we're going to be doing that month and the different news that's coming out, and inspirational quotes that I'll tweet every morning at 7 a.m. and just send them all out there. And by doing that, I'm able to kind of grow a following. And right now we have about 600 followers on Twitter. Those are both our members, but they're also my counterparts in nonprofit organizations, in government agencies, Peace Corps follows us, NPCA follows us. They come to us with all sorts of different opportunities. I've had reporters contact me over Twitter because of a picture that I tweeted out from one of our service projects during the Martin Luther King Day of Service before our last inauguration. We were painting a school, tweeted a picture out of that into the ether, and the next day we were on the homepage of MSN.com, RPCVW, because a reporter had contacted me finding that picture. It has the ability to tap into a huge audience. Yes, question?
For those of us who do not Twitter, what is Hootsuite?
Which is what I was going to hit. Yes, Hootsuite. So for each of these fantastic applications, there are other applications that help you manage them better. Hootsuite allows you to schedule tweets for the month. It allows you to manage multiple Twitter accounts. It is what professional communicators utilize to run multiple accounts. But it does have that scheduling ability and also analytics. And then you can pay a little bit more for really powerful, yes, Maria?
Could you explain the importance of keeping your information updated and how that winds up on a newsfeed? And
Yes, keeping information updated. Well, the worst thing you can do is start something and then just leave it to run. You can start a Facebook group, and if your last post was in 2008, it's going to look like you're walking into a graveyard. It is incredibly important before launching a social media experiment to get 4 or 5 committed people who are going to be using that service and talking amongst themselves. Even if it's just your board using it for their own internal communications, it really is like hosting a dinner party. And you have to give it new stuff and engage people, because people are shy and they're bashful, and they need to see that people are having fun in order for them to join in. Our group didn't really even take off until last year. And before that, it wasn't moderated, so people were coming in and advertising tennis shoes and all sorts of stuff on it, and nobody was cleaning that up. And I went in, cleaned house, started posting conversations, posting icebreakers, like Erica Berman will often do that on the NPCA Facebook page. Is probably the model that I use when managing our Facebook page. She has all sorts of fun contests. Send us your best Peace Corps photo. Show us photos of your Peace Corps pets, your Peace Corps tattoos, stuff like that. I mean, looking at it small, it could seem trivial, but it is communicating, it is collaborating, and it is putting into a larger conversation, which, when you look at it, shows your group. It shows a dynamic, vibrant group that can attract, just about anyone. That really is kind of the definitely a good thing to know. Thank you, Mariko. Before you launch into a social media experiment, commit to it, utilize it, make it your home, make it your living room. Even if it's just a bunch of friends talking, that's all it needs to start, because that turns into 5 friends, turns into 6 friends, turns into 7 friends, continues. Moving on, last thing is Google+. I won't speak too long on that because I don't use it. Every social media demonstration I've ever seen includes Google+. And I wanted to put it in. So I really didn't know what else to do. No, it's Google's attempt to compete with the Facebook of the world. It has actually a nice way of sharing photos. It collaborates the forum. There's a difference between a Facebook group and a page, which is something I did not discuss. The group is your private forum. Anybody can post anything, and it is shielded from search. The page is kind of your public billboard, so that's where you put all your pictures. That's where you put your events. This is what you want the world to see. And the group is something that you have for your members to share internal information and just kind of general interest. Continuing on the social media, we got into a little bit of best practices by keeping it current. Group leaders do set the example. You start discussions, you prepare activities, pictures. This is the power. You want to fill it with pictures. This is where all your photos go, because then you can click on people's faces and tag their names, and then they get notified that they've been tagged in a picture, which, now you have to go see who tagged you, and that just brings more traffic back to your site. And it's a great way to engage your members. Maybe somebody came to a happy hour and they're not going to talk to you, they wrote you off, but you tag their face in a picture. Well, now they got to come back and talk to you. And they got to look at that. And that's just another way to keep people engaged, to keep them coming back. And practice good governance. Clean it up, moderate, set rules and procedures, let people know what they can and cannot post. Our Facebook group is pretty much open to anyone as long as you're not making money or organizing for a particular political cause. Otherwise, it is, we will trust in the third goal. With our LinkedIn group, anyone who joins our LinkedIn group is expected to make 15 minutes for any other RPCV, because that's what I believe that, I've never personally been denied by any RPCV, and I think that that's what LinkedIn is there for. And it's posted right there in the group rules, so when you join, you're a part of this. Moving on to forums and surveys. Now this is how you start getting more feedback from your members. Because what we started with newsletters, which is where you send information out, you broadcast information. Same is sort of true with social media, only you're getting a few comments back, you're getting pictures back, people are liking things. That is the great metric on Facebook, is the like. With forums and surveys, you can really get into the nuts and bolts and get the information that you want. We send out a survey every year, about 20 questions, kind of focus our programming. We look at what people tell us, and then we use that before our yearly retreat. We also use it to do our voting, and we'll also give members big questions to vote on and call them referenda. We just picked a new logo. We pick a different charity every year to sponsor, which is what we call our partnership or piece. Our members vote on that, and I use Google Forms to do it. It's a free service. It's intuitive. Once again, think about it, email me, talk to me, I will help you set it up. I will show you what works. I don't have time to do it right now, but as I said, it's great for all of these different things, and the best thing about it is that it's not going to sit in one person's closet or computer or email inbox. It can be shared with all your collaborators and passed on to the next person who takes your job. There is continuity, and that's another reason that I absolutely adore these services. And finally is analytics. And what this is, I don't know if anybody's heard of cookies. It's a little line of code that websites will attach onto you as you look through their website. Mostly it's used for marketing. What we would use it for is to figure out how people utilize a website, what pages they spend most time on, where they go, what they do, where they're coming from, what they like, what they click, how long they read. These kind of things can help you design, maybe somebody's skipping out on this page, maybe they don't like it, maybe there aren't enough pictures, maybe it looks ugly. You can use this to really kind of streamline down your website and make it easier to use. And you can also see what people are searching for if you have a little search box in your website, which is a free service of Google, and I can help you set that up as well. This is a great way to see what people will come to your website and they'll search housing. And if you don't have anything on housing on your website, they might not come back. So you can actually see what people are looking for when they come to your website. And finally, the best thing about analytics is that you can set your own custom goals. Let's say you want to know when somebody clicks that link to register or clicks that email to email you. You can set that as a goal, and you can count it up, and you can see, people seem to like this particular goal on Wednesdays. What are we doing? All of that is possible, and I'll show you how. And we measure performance at the very end. So, any questions so far? Would you like to see it in action?
Yes.
All right, that's what I wanted to hear. All right, the RPCVW newsletter looks something like this. When we set it up, we have a sidebar, and it's just kind of the general, we just had our elections. So we announced our elections, we have our new logo, we have a letter from our outgoing president, then we'll fill it with news, but we also have a whole section devoted to the community. So people who are not us come to us to advertise in our newsletter. And this is a great way to build bonds with other groups, to keep new ideas, because we welcome everyone. We welcome anyone with a community mindset. And for RPCV groups that might see their membership flagging, there's nothing wrong to go to your local Rotary group and to say, you know, we are committed volunteers. We would love to have you guys join our newsletter, to join our events, to supplement our own activities. And that's what we do. This is a particular, this English language education program asked us to run this ad in their newsletter. This RPCV, who created a mapping service, which is amazing, asked me to share this with our group. And he actually created a global map where he's posted different blogs of different RPCVs throughout time. And now we can't find it, which is just fantastic. Thank you for doing that to me. There it is, Peace Corps volunteer map. This guy just emailed me out of the blue. And look, he's created this amazing thing where I can go and I can look at different sites and I can see who was there. And, oh, it's Justin Center. And does he have a blog? I don't know. The idea is that this guy he wanted to create a website where people would go, look at different sites, and be able to read their experiences. Like, here's mine. I posted my blog from 2007 to 2009. You walked into it. He just communicated with me because he found me on Twitter. Social media. Here's our Facebook. Oh, come on. Sorry, guys. It's worth it, I promise. Yes. Here's our internal group. So Kelsey wants to know if anybody can recommend a good dentist. I'm at the group leaders forum, talking to Peace Corps Connect. I'm watching Liz McClintock. Here's a photo. We have about 5 to 10 postings every day. It is a constant, ongoing conversation. Hi, I'm new in the area. I thought I'd introduce myself. It's a way for people to really utilize the group on their own time. They don't have to come to the event. They don't have to be here. We love them to be, and our whole other apparatus of our organization is devoted to getting them out. But to have this service available is a great way just to keep people engaged. And forms. Here's what our survey looked like. It comes out in a spreadsheet when we look at it, but we can even see this is what the form looked like. So our members filled it out. How have we helped you? I made friends. I enjoy working on community events. Family code. We can look in there, check out the form, and then see the summary of responses. 110 people responded to our survey. What is the main reason? Networking, community service, social gatherings. How long have you been with us? All this different information that we use to plan better events. We send it out every year, and here it is at our fingertips. We make it into a report. We send that back to the members. They know that they have a space. They have a place in our organization. And finally, my favorite part. Remember when I said that the newsletter is the heartbeat of your organization? Well, I can prove it. Because here's the analytics that make it so. One of the nifty things you can do, this is all our stuff for the month, so I can see what sources, how did people get to rpcvw.org that month. 32% came straight from their browsers. These 28% found us on Google. 10% found us on Facebook. This is our newsletter, this big orange slice. That's how many people come to our site from the newsletter. But when we go down here, and this is really nifty, to heartbeat. So I'm going to order, here's the weekly newsletter, and I'm going to, the other great thing about analytics is that I can specify the amount of time that I want to look at it. So I want to see all the people who came to this site since, let's go January 2012. January 1st to today. Apply. coming. Ah, the excitement. Yes. Oh, come on, Harvard. You gotta use Word for me. I know you can do it. And if I order it alphabetically, check out the newsletter. Go by visits. I am now charting people coming. So watch the little weekly newsletter right about, whoops. Yeah, there it is. That's our first one. And then we changed over. These are all, there it goes. There's the heartbeat. These are people coming to our website every Wednesday after getting the newsletter. And as you can see, it is the chief mover. Just all of 2013, every Wednesday, we become part of the routine. So, there's other interesting stuff, but that's just one of the most interesting things I found, along with 10 other things about running the website and kind of the confluence of technologies. I'm happy to have very long conversations with everyone. Here is my contact information. Yes, please, publicrelations@rpcvw.org. Glad to answer any questions right now.
Chris, could you show us quickly how to make reservations for an event and pay for an event?
Okay. Well, our website, we use,
Walk, walk, walk.
sorry?
They're writing down your information.
Oh, sorry. Didn't know I was that popular. I got cards too.
And while we're waiting, can you show them the, that graph that you showed me? Because I think some of the conception is that RPCW is a big group, and of course we have all the members and everything.
I have it on this
You
computer.
don't have it on the computer, but over time since 2002, we've gone up and down. When I joined the board in 2009, we were down 375, and over time, because of this kind of stuff that's been going on, they're up to 1,000.
Yeah, and you're just keeping people involved in any way that you can, in different ways that work for them. So, we use a website, we use a service called Wild Apricot. We keep about 5,000 contacts, so we pay about $100 a month for it. Wild Apricot allows you to do lots of fun stuff, but most importantly is be able to register for events. So when we have an event, it pops up on our calendar on our events page. And anybody, see here's RPCVW heads to Boston. So I want to register for this event. I register, I enter my email, and all RPCVW members, once you join RPCVW, you can log into the site and register for events, and we will automatically send you reminders. Depending on what event it is, we'll determine how many reminders we send you. When you log in the first time, you get access to a special page that we hold privately, that's kept from the public, and that's where our member directory is. So we were talking about kind of opening up a member directory. Here's ours. So we got about 974 people, and I can search all of them by name, country of service, COS date. So I want to find all the Jamaica guys. There they are. These are all of our Jamaica people in our group. And if I want to see a little bit more information about them, each one has a little profile. And the best part is, hey, Matt Colvin, I know that guy. I served with him. I can send him a message. And I'll send him a little private message. And there it goes. Boom. Matt now knows not to touch my cat. But this is just one of the little services that we offer our members. We encourage people to find different people from their groups, to send them little messages, and we kind of operate under that any RPCV should be open to talking to any other RPCV and make it as easy and transparent as possible. Another little fun thing I did was the NPCA can send you data of different NPCA members, and they'll give you addresses. We don't make that public, but there's other fun stuff you can do with it. You can run it through a heat map filter, for instance. So I did this, and I overlaid it over a map of DC, and this shows the concentration of RPCVs living in Washington, DC. So you can see that I got 183 people living in this one little zip code. Columbia Heights is ground zero for RPCVs in DC. So it's a nice place to look at. So if you're moving into town, you're new in town, you know that these are RPCV friendly neighborhoods. And, and if you want to get a little bit more specific, we offer a social map. Like, I don't want to put people's information out there, but I'll let them do it. So here's where people post where they served in the world with the little green things. And then you have these easy to understand instructions on the side to add to this map. And this gives us a nice little visual description, a little bit more specific of where people live and work. The red dots are where people work. So if people want to set up carpools, meet other people in their neighborhoods, you can elect to share what information you want to share. Josh and Kelly are okay with sharing this. And this is only accessible by our members. You have to be a member of RPCW to get it. It is completely private otherwise.
So the Google map is routed through the sign-on to your main site?
It's just embedded. It's just a free Google map that I put on the main site and made instructions and opened up to everybody so that they can
But
add
under
to
what
it.
account is it taking that information to figure out?
People are putting it themselves. Each one of these dots somebody put down themselves.
Thank you.
How much time do you spend?
I try to do it so that I spend as little time as possible and the members spend as much time as possible. Because I want them doing stuff. I want them adding to it.
What's the answer? No, I'm thinking this is absolutely phenomenal, what you're doing, and the service to those of us who are members of RPCW are incredibly grateful. But I know that one of the things that came up in our group is how in heaven's name we get people to do what we currently have to do, which is 20 hours a week. And so, you are very savvy and very creative, but still, how much time do you spend a week on this?
I mean, I use it to market myself, my own brand. I'm a political organizer. I put this stuff on my professional resume. I see the value in being on a nonprofit board. Can't put time.
Politically savvy.
It's a professional hobby, and I enjoy it, and this is what I try to communicate to other people who join the board. There's just so many opportunities to let your creativity and your ambition fly, and you can do that in streamlining your network and getting people to go out and do more stuff. And once people see this thing happening, that's why we see the spikes in numbers that we've been seeing. Artists.
Can we go back to the event registration?
Sure.
Yeah, payment.
Payment. Yes, payment.
This will be the last bit, everybody, because it's 20 minutes to 5 already. I'm so sorry we have so little time, but this is really great stuff.
Thank you, Chris.
Well, when you join RPCVW, we have a payment typically. I already am a member, but a little thing will pop down and you'll be able to buy your membership, and you can also buy a joint membership with NPCA, and that money will be automatically put into our PayPal account. And we can also charge for events using the same features. And then it all pops up in our accounting spreadsheets, because there's a whole back end to all of this. So when I go back here to finances, I can look through and audit all the payments that have been done and export them as a receivable or an income report. I didn't invent this, we pay for this. And actually this is free, this service is free for up to 50 contacts. So Wild Apricot is free for up to 50. And it's just a great member management software that really allows us to run this organization of 1,000 people without any paid staff. Thank you.